Hi everyone, I'm Jamie. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into The Power of the Dog. Jane Campion's intense take on toxic masculinity. This film, based on Thomas Savage's novel, doesn't just point out that toxic masculinity exists, it shows how it festers and wrecks lives. Let's break it down. To understand the power of the dog, let's start with three foundational concepts from gender studies that help frame this complex portrayal of masculinity. First, hegemonic masculinity. In Masculinities from 1995, Connell defines this as a culturally idealized form of manhood. Dominant, tough, emotionally restrained, Bill Burbank, the film's rugged, authoritative cowboy. He runs his ranch with an iron fist, demanding respect through fear. Second, toxic masculinity. Terry Kupes, 2001, described it as a harmful enactment of masculine norms. Aggression, emotional suppression, dominance. Phil's torment of Rose, pushing her toward alcoholism, is a clear manifestation of this toxic force. Third, gender performativity. As Judith Butler argues in Gender Trouble 1990, gender is not something we are, but something we do, performed through repeated actions. Peter's delicate, artistic pursuits, like crafting paper flowers, define cowboy norms, reminding us that gender is fluid and performative. This concept will guide our exploration of the film's characters, symbolism, and themes. The Power of the Dog isn't just pointing out toxic masculinity, it's dissecting how it formed, how it festers, and how it ultimately destroys. This is Jane Campion's first film featuring a male protagonist.
I think it's really great that I had this chance to really explore masculinity in the way that so many men over such a long time have been able to explore what the hell they want to do.
Adapted from Thomas Savage's novel, the story unfolds on a 1925 Montana range in the United States, a setting suffocatingly saturated with masculinity. Viewing this film through this lens, one noticed numerous dialogues revolving around man and human. In this male-dominated narrative, both terms unequivocally refer to man. The film opens with Peter's monologues.
For what kind of man would I be if I did not help my mother? If I did not save her?
In his value system, failing to aid or rescue his mother would render him not a man. This conviction permeates his actions from beginning to end. Phil expressed his different way of defining masculinity through mocking Peter, including but not limited to burning Peter's paper flowers and calling him Miss Nancy, among other things. Peter's mother Rose lived under Phil's mental oppression every day, yet she still comforted her son.
He's just a man, Peter. Only another man. Will you go ahead?
It was evident that his mother has not been living under the shadow of man for just one day, revealing that most men of the era were likely like this: alcoholism, domestic violence, and unreasonable behavior toward women. When the mother warned Peter not to kill rabbits at home,
You're not to kill them in the house, Peter. No, I'm putting my foot down.
Where'd a man be if he always did what his mother told him?
this also reflects that Peter is a highly opinionated individual. Peter is extreme and stubborn, with strong determination and execution capabilities. To become a doctor, the first things he did upon returning for summer vacation was to hunt rabbits for dissection practice. When Phil attempted to teach Peter how to ride a horse, he mentioned,
There's a cliff way out back of the ranch with initials in 1805 carved into it. Must have been some fella from the Lewis and Clark expedition. They were real men in those days.
he once again emphasized the standards of a true man that he aspired to, or rather the standard that once defined masculinity in the minds of an entire generation of men. When Phil and Peter was camping in the mountains,
Bronco Henry told me that a man was made by patience and the odds against him.
However, Peter responds with words from his own father.
My father said, obstacles. He had to try and remove them.
Phil mistakenly believed Peter was agreeing with him. In Phil's eyes, Peter's obstacle was his mother.
Don't let your mom make a sissy of you.
He felt Peter should overcome this obstacle to become a man like himself, and that Peter merely lacked someone to guide him. But the obstacle in Peter's mouth is actually Phil, whom we all know he wants to eliminate as well. It wasn't until the end of the film that we realized the power of the dog discussed in the movie actually metaphorically represents a kind of malevolent, evil force. From Peter's perspective, Phil was the evil that needed to be eliminated. In the film, Phil's masculinity almost perfectly exemplified the negative effects of masculinity, creating a sense of oppression and making people live in fear.
Power of the Dog is about masculinity. It's about a carnal, sensual, destructive, animalistic force.
His unreasonable, vulgar, and even unclean behavior represents a superficial kind of evil, repulsive form of masculinity. The film also contrasts with the younger brother's weakness with the elder brother's dominance. After George marries Rose, the two have a picnic on their way home. Rose, the first woman in George's life to show him tenderness, danced on the mountain, and under such circumstances, he breaks down and cries. This revealed just how devoid from feminine warmth his previous life had been. In contrast to Phil, Peter is a man with feminine traits. Peter appears delicate and fragile on the outside, yet in the eyes of his father, he possesses an extremely resolute personality and a meticulous mind, indicating that his father understands his son very
Used to worry I
well.
wasn't kind enough. That I was too strong.
One moment, he gently strokes an injured rabbit, and the next second, he can snap the neck without hesitation. Phil and Peter represent two entirely different forms of evil. One outwardly cruel but inwardly sensitive, but the other outwardly gentle but inwardly cold. In the film, the reason Phil gave Peter an opportunity to take advantage was not only because his judgment was clouded by emotions, but also due to an unconscious bias. People always assume those who appear fragile are harmless, and Peter exploited this perception. As viewers, we were deceived by the director's editing until the 5th chapter, when we suddenly realized this was actually a tragedy about Phil. Relying on our own unconscious biases, throughout the first 4 chapters, we worried about how Phil bullied his mother, driving her to alcoholism, and how he tortured Peter, humiliating him. Our hostility toward Phil also stemmed from an aversion to toxic masculinity. Additionally, the film explored the conflict between the progression of civilization and eras with traditional masculinity. The pursuit of upper-class lifestyles and the yearning for civilization stand in stark contrast to the entrenched nomadic way of life and its accompanying spirit. Time inevitably marched forward, much like our evolving perception of male charisma. Once rock cowboys epitomized male allure, much like the Hollywood Western that dominated the silver screen. But gradually, this archetype became outdated. People began to view such muscular figures as gauche, with behaviors like spitting in public. Society now favors well-dressed intellectuals, husbands who excel at earning rather than writing. Yet, the pursuit of civilization brings its own dilemmas. Phil, even if not killed by Peter, would have been erased by the tide of time. A key motive in the film, those who were gloved survived, while those clinging to tradition, refusing to adapt, exposed their vulnerabilities and made ultimately ends. This isn't to say masculinity is wholly negative. It encompasses resilience, courage, responsibility, and other virtue worth preserving. But modern society increasingly values inner fortitude, decisiveness, and accountability over outward displays of traditional bravado. Alright, that's all for today. Thank you for your watching. If you enjoyed my video, remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.